Well, we're just a couple of days past the UFC Freedom 250 fight of the White House, which, by the way, is largely recognized as the greatest and most successful sporting spectacle ever put on by many people who produce these kinds of things. But something that big, of course, at the symbol of freedom, the White House, the People's House, is going to be a target for some freaking inbred moron that is inspired and revved up by all the rhetoric that's out there. And you may be thinking that, oh, those left-wing news organizations inspired them. Oh, no. Oh, well, there was part of that, of course. But oh, no, that's not the only rhetoric that's out there. Let's be adults in the room here and understand what happens here. Now, if you are stupid enough and inbred enough and violent enough and just closed off enough to actually want to create a plot to harm other Americans, what would you actually be listening to? Like what would your information sources be? The View? No. ABC? World News Tonight? No. You're listening to all of these little minions in Podcastistan that have all of a sudden, because of clicks and most likely paid by other foreign entities, all of a sudden have turned the tables. You know, the Tucker Carlsons of the world and the little, who's that other little weasel, the Fuentes guy, whatever the hell it is, and Candace Owens. Marjorie Taylor Greene has turned the other side, right? And they're all saying that Trump's inspired by foreign entities. Israel, it's those Jews that are leading him around the hook. And then they're all the same ones that say, was it Trump that was protecting Epstein? You know, this kind of rhetoric, right? But like in every other kind of story, there's always a great takeaway. Always, that the media is not always telling you. First of all, the plot was foiled because we have an amazing FBI and Secret Service. And secondly, there's a human element to this story where the mother of one of these brain-dead inbred morons actually turned them in. Now, it's unfortunate that you raised an inbred moron, but still, you did the right thing in the end. We'll get to it. But just take a guess at what kind of rhetoric inspired these idiots. And an interesting take from the president and the vice president on this, how they're trying to calm everybody down. We'll talk about it. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Wicked Radio live stream and replay on X and YouTube and Facebook. Audio podcast listeners, it's posted shortly after the live stream every day, wherever you like to get those. Let's get to it. We all heard the news yesterday. First of all, we were still trying to gather the information and watching clips online about UFC Freedom 250 and all the fights, and it was amazing and we praised around the world. It was great, went off without a hitch. Dana White's all proud. But then you had this news story break late yesterday afternoon.
Explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation and steering crowds towards a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat last Wednesday and worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it. Joining us now on the...
All right, so that sounds scary. And it is scary. I get it. It's, you know, they're planning this, and it sounds like it was that close. And when we first heard the story, it was like, wow, we barely averted a disaster. It never really got close to that. Now, is it bad? Is it scary that anybody was even trying to plot something like this? Absolutely. So we had three main idiots, and I'm sure there'll be other people arrested who planned this whole thing and online chats and all this other stuff. And, you know, they had plans to put into place, and they had these chat groups, and I guess there was some bizarre TikTok channel that they were all communicating on, America hating idiots and all this other stuff, right? Well, never even got to that. Secret Service heavily involved, CIA, I'm sure, but definitely the FBI. And it was interesting that Kash Patel released this information yesterday. I am sure, and I've always thought this, not really a conspiracy theory, but I mean, it kind of makes sense that the worst threats that have been foiled, the biggest threats to our country, we've never really heard about. You know what I mean with that? Like they were quick to talk about the win in this to protect this event and other citizens. It was like 4,300 people ringside, plenty of other people, you know, very close to it, and there was 1,200 service members for that. So I think the reason why they were talking about the win and how they were able to foil this plot was because it never really got that close to doing it. You know what I mean? Still bad that anybody's planning anything like this, but that was the win. The worst things that we've been, you know, protected from, we probably never even heard about because they don't want to inspire other idiots to do this kind of stuff, or nations, right? Could be, right, exactly. Well, let's get to the human element side of this first, because one of the inbred stupid morons that actually, you know, was inspired by the rhetoric on this was apparently turned in by his mom. Guy's name is Proper, was from Ohio. Here's the human element that came out of this.
Well, Kaylee, this is a story that deals with many different suspects in many different states. And we are learning, looking through these documents, that a mother in Ohio had the courage to call authorities on her 19-year-old, and she expressed some concern, and she may have blown this entire case open. His name is 19-year-old Tyson Proper, and he was picked up after she called authorities on June 10th, just a few days ago. This was 4 days before the UFC fight. We want to show some images. The first image, I believe, that we're going to show is a rifle that belonged to her son, according to authorities. The other is a screen grab, several screen grabs showing aerial images and maps of the Washington, D.C. area.
All right, so they got... And if you see this guy's mugshot, you're like, whoa, this made me laugh. He's 19. This guy looks like he's about 52. Bald, inbred, fat, dumb, one brain cell, but whatever. Let's give the mom some credit here for having the guts to turn him in. Did you ever ask that question? If your kid, God forbid, ever did something or is planning something this bad, wouldn't you hope that they turn him in? And the other thing, the other incidents we've had throughout the years, don't you always say, you've got a family somewhere. Didn't they know that you're dangerous and an idiot? Didn't any of these people turn him in? Well, she did. So credit to her. Now, you saw an image there. Sorry, you audio-only listeners, you didn't see this one, but you saw the image there of apparently his rifle, and it was painted red, white, and blue, and it had the stripes and all this other stuff. This is one of the key elements you got to pick up on, because the extremists from that side of it will always call themselves the super patriots, right? They're the super war. They're the real Americans. They're the ones that'll always tell you, well, America shouldn't be led around by that Netanyahu. It's the Jews. It's a telltale sign all the time. When everybody says it's always the Jews' fault, that's another telltale sign. And the second one, and the big one, and here's the rhetoric we get to, apparently, reportedly, allegedly, they were inspired by all that rhetoric that, what is Trump? He's a pedophile protector. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, of course, the left-wing media has always pushed this on them, right? Always. But they haven't been the ones pushing it the hardest. The ones that have are the ones I mentioned there in the introduction. The Candace Owens of the world, the little Fuentes kid. I always forget his name because I hate him. Tucker Carlson now is saying the same thing. Why was it Trump hiding the Epstein files, right? Even though President Trump was the one back in Mar-a-Lago days that kicked Epstein out of the club, and now we know it's documented that Epstein was doing everything he could before he died and got arrested again to take down Trump. That we know. So now let's go to this for a second, and this is where AI, ChatGPT, I'm going on Grok here, is great for quick reference, right? Because it'll just compile all the headlines and news stories written out about a certain topic we're talking about over the last 24 hours. So just a quick little search about what has been written, what's been published so far about the rhetoric that inspired these brain-dead morons that tried to cause harm with a drone attack, or thought they could, at UFC Freedom 250. Well, let's see. Desire to tear down the U.S. system. Oh, of course, right? Because they're the super patriots, right? This is coming from NBC News. Group members believe the country was headed in the wrong direction, of course. Should be dismantled, right? Here's another one from, this is Sky News. Anti-elite, anti-capitalist views. They targeted capitalist elites, billionaires, politicians, especially those seen as corrupt or tied to pro-Israel lobby. There you go. It's those Jews. Right, all the time. One suspect described goals of hitting such figures at the event. Oh, and there it is. This is from NBC. Epstein and government corruption grievances. Fury over the Trump administration. This is all from their group chats. Fury over the Trump administration handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, with statements that, quote, people involved with Jeffrey Epstein should not govern. This tied into broader elite conspiracy theories. And there you go. Now, where did they get that? Where did they get that? Oh, the attacks and the rhetoric and the lawfare against Trump went nowhere. So what did they do? All of a sudden, for the past, I don't know, it's over a year now, especially where it really picked up. They flipped the script, right? They flipped the script. There was Trump that was protecting Epstein, even though he's the guy that led to his first arrest, right? He's the guy that kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He's the guy that eventually released these files because he was so frustrated by it, right? Even though he wanted to talk about all the wins the country was having, right? But they flipped the script. Everybody talking about it. Oh, it must be Trump. Amazing. Now, anybody with common sense like you and me and everybody else could see right through that propaganda, but you have to remember the low IQ level of these idiots they've arrested so far that wanted to disrupt and create this planned attack in Washington, D.C. They don't have the ability. They don't have that filter to look through propaganda. They can't do it. And that's why that kind of rhetoric is so dangerous, because they can't. It revs up the morons. It just does, right? All of the stuff. Same thing. If it wasn't the Epstein thing, it was back in the day from the E. Jean Carroll thing, that Trump's a rapist. And the idiots out there believe it. Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. Forget party. Forget that. It's just, it's not a blue or red issue. It's a stupid or not stupid issue. It just is. That's why it's dangerous. And the people that create this rhetoric, they know that. They know that very, very well. So there you go, the same thing. And I'll say it again. It comes from everywhere. Now, it just so happens that J.D. Vance had a lot of media to do yesterday. We scheduled to talk to Fox and Friends. I think he went on NBC, definitely went on The View, and we'll talk about that here for a second. It's interesting his take and how he tried to calm everything down about this, how it wasn't that bad, but he talked about the rhetoric politically, talking about the Democrats, they need to tone things down. But it's more than that, because it's not just coming from the Democrats.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes with the FBI.
Sure.
We don't always find out. Why do you think they're telling us this now, and what's your reaction?
Well, I think they're telling us because the scale of the planned attack is so significant, and I think it's important for us to be as transparent as we can be about these ongoing investigations. We want to tell the American people what's going on, of course, but I actually just heard about it this morning myself, and so this is a very, very dark stuff. And unfortunately, we were talking about this a little bit off camera, but this is what happens when people turn the rhetoric up so loud that disagreeing with somebody is a cause for violence. That's the
Right, I get it. And he's right about it. He's not wrong, obviously, but it goes a little deeper than that. His job as someone representing the administration is to say Democrats need to tone down the rhetoric. It's always them. And it mostly is them, but it's not always them. That's the thing. It's also the podcasters that are trying to push this kind of stuff, and 4 clicks. You know, the alternative thing to do was all of a sudden turn on Trump and push an Epstein thing and all these other lies. Again, the idiots believe that. But the very same day, this is amazing, the very same day that the word was out there that the plot was foiled, we know all about it, we know what these brain-dead idiots were believing about the rhetoric. The very same thing. J.D. Vance goes on The View, and what do they do? What does Anna Navarro bring up? The Epstein thing. Anna Navarro, who is on The View, she's on The View because she is a propagandist who's cosplaying as a Republican. She really is. She's supposed to be the token Republican on that show. She really is, even though she's anything but. What does she push again? The Epstein thing. This is after, keep in mind the timeline, after we know that these inbred idiots believe the Epstein lie.
Appreciate this, but you know, one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump literally reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police. That's one of the things that came out of these files.
They were best friends for about a decade. And remember, he signed that Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, congresswomen like Lauren Boebert, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, did not give in.
There she goes. Again, I'll say it again. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but we already know one of the main things that inspired the inbred freaking idiots with the UFC drone plot was the Epstein thing. That Trump's we're the real people who protect Epstein and the pedophiles in Epstein Island. They can't govern. Yeah, that wasn't him. You're falling for every bit of the rhetoric because you're stupid. And there they go. But there's the danger. There's the danger of it there. J.D. Vance did his best to try to clear that up. She went right back to it. Yeah, but he only released those files under duress. No, you know why he released those files? Because he was sick of frickin' hearing about it. But we know Trump, and all he wanted to talk about was the success the nation was having and all these wins that we're having in a row and the economy getting better. And no, he was forced to release those files. But it'll just never end. Here's the takeaway. That's all they have on him is a lie. That's all they freaking have is a lie on that. And it's an amazing thing that it's been so successful, though, that Trump was involved with the Epstein thing and Trump was covering for Epstein. This may turn out to be one of the biggest hoaxes of all. Bigger than the Fine People hoax, bigger than the Russia collusion hoax 1 and 2, bigger than the drinking bleach hoax, all of that stuff that got arrested. This will eventually be cleared up, but it may wind up being the biggest one of all because you've got dumb people that actually believe it. But there you go. It's almost like we have a responsibility. Anytime you hear somebody anywhere that you think was a normal person that had, half a clue, a little bit of common sense and at least 2 brain cells working up there, talking about Trump connected to Epstein in any way, don't get in an argument, but almost say, yeah, you'd have to be stupid to believe that. Maybe, I don't know. It's the only way it's going to get cleared up, that's for sure. All right. So now you know, that's the details. The rhetoric is coming from both sides, all sides. Some of the worst of it is coming from people that probably you used to trust. Tucker, Candace Owens, MTG, all of the people doing that for clicks. Because what's the likelihood that the brain-dead inbreds, these ferals that actually concocted this plot for a drone attack in Washington, D.C., what's the chance that they're watching the ABC or The View? Yeah, no. But you know what they may be listening to? All of the other people that actually did it. The people that used to actually support President Trump in America and be patriotic. Well, they kind of flipped and they started pushing these conspiracy theories because that's all they had left. All right, let's get out of here. Enough of that. Enough of drone plots and all that good stuff. Hopefully something lighter tomorrow. I don't know. But thanks for finding me. Appreciate you. Audio podcast, wherever you like to get those platforms. And every one of them's different, whether it's Apple or iHeart or Spotify, whatever. They ask you to follow or like or share or whatever. Thank you for doing that so much. I appreciate you. Live stream Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, X, YouTube, Facebook, then the replay. Whatever. You can find me. Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.